the new album from the Birthday Massacre. I'm going to be talking about what I like, what I don't like, and what I think is the key missing ingredient. Titles, please. Welcome to By Candlelight, beaming goth, dark wave and post-punk straight into your brain. It's not the goth that carries you off, it's the coffin they carry you off in. So here it is, the Canadian band's 10th studio album. I've been a fan for years and I've followed them, but not in a stalker kind of way. I always try and see them when they come over to the UK, and I buy their stuff and I just spread the word as much as I possibly can. And whenever I've played them to friends who aren't in the scene, they've always liked them. There hasn't been one person who said to me, nah, that's not my bag. And they've always asked, why aren't they more well known? I met them back in 2022 and they were friendly, kind and approachable people. And I think this comes over in their gigs. They just have a huge amount of affection for their fans. So here we are, 8 tracks, 33 minutes long, and that iconic branding. Let's have a little look. Folds out like that. I'm still waiting for the vinyl, but this is the CD, obviously. So just before I head into my review of this, I already know that there's something missing from this, and I will cover that later on. But my initial thought is, it's a little on the short side. The Cure's Songs of a Lost World also comes in at 8 tracks, but it's a much more meatier 49 minutes in length. But hey, there's no hard and fast rule about how long an album should be. So, what did I think? Well, the album starts strongly with Sleep Tonight, and that really harks back to that Walking with Strangers sound. Being the first single released, it didn't quite hit me in the way that Counterpain from Under Your Spell did, or Leaving Tonight from Hide and Seek. But nestled next to other tracks, and it seems to work better as an album track. Next we have single number 2 in All of You, and just like Sleep Tonight, this really comes into its own with the context of the whole album. And the Birthday Massacre just have this knack of making their crunching guitars kind of cozy sounding. They're not harsh or piercing in any way. Next track, The Vanishing Game, is okay. It does kind of meander a little bit, but it does feature some interesting chord progressions that you may not have heard before on a Birthday Massacre album. The title track does seem to place things nicely back on the rails, even though it's a song that I think they could probably write in their sleep. 5th track, Whisper, I really like. There's a lot of elements here, but I just love that classic TBM cute versus evil approach with a growling chibi. Wish made me smile. It just made me smile. And it has that beautiful 80s nostalgic feel to it. Think Divide from Superstition, just as an idea of how this song comes across. And they do this so well. They just load it up with feels and blast you with a ray gun of emotion. And they never miss. Faces is back to crunching guitars, and this sits quite nicely after the euphoric Wish. It does end a bit abruptly, but hey, keep them wanting more. Final track, yes, we're here already. Final track, Cruel Love, will make you smile with its arpeggiated synths of old. It just serves up a massive, gorgeous slice of nostalgia that we've come to expect from this band. And then it's all over. But gotta say, this is a good TBM album, and in my opinion, much better than Diamonds and Fascination. I really struggled with those albums, and it did feel like they were on autopilot a little bit. Pathways brings back that classic Walking with Strangers sound, and it did make me smile more than once. But there's still something missing here, and it's taking me until this album to discover what it is. It was largely missing from Fascination and Diamonds too. Let me just preface this with why the band chose their name. So, according to Chibi, it kind of works well for the music that we're making. Sort of contrasty, you know? Birthday and Massacre, light and dark, cute and evil. Well, in my opinion, it feels like those contrasting elements within songs have been missing for quite a while. So what I mean by this is when you have one of their tracks that has crunching guitars and then immediately switches to quite melodic synths and guitar lines. And those melodic elements are quite high in the mix, so you can really hear them. There's plenty of examples from their first few albums, but a really good example is the track Pins and Needles. The guitars hit you like a brick, but then it quickly changes into dreamy synths and melodic guitars. At 2 minutes 45 in, it breaks everything down and you just get those dreamy 80s nostalgic synths. And that's the TBM sound. It's what makes them unique, interesting, and exciting. There are elements of light and shade on Pathways, but we just don't get those iconic synth parts and guitar lines like we used to. Not that bands need to repeat what they've done each time. Creating something should have little to no rules or expectations. But some of the tracks on this album are so short that they could have been allowed to breathe a little bit more, and they could have featured, say, a bridge section where they would bring everything down to just synths or just melodic guitar. Just something like that, really. So, rating this album, I would give it a strong 7. It definitely would have got a higher score if it had been longer and if it had featured more of those light and shade moments. But this is a good TBM album, and it will make die-hard fans, especially those of Walking with Strangers, smile. An almost unskippable collection of songs. You can check out my full TBM ranking vid. If I was to slot this in, I'd say between Diamonds and Superstition. I'll leave links to the band in the usual place. And do let me know what you thought of this album down below. Until next time, see you later.